Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where we are shining a light on being successful in an unconventional way. My name is Tracy French, and I am your host. I am a mom, wife, real estate agent, real estate investor, and real estate team leader. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Jim Hill. We discuss how success in life doesn't always have to look the same, and we are here to prove that to you. Let's get started. I can't with you.
Yes, you can, because I'm right here.
Did you have a good Halloween?
I did. Halloween is becoming one of my favorite holidays. I feel like it's always been one of my favorite, but I didn't realize it till I had kids, and I get to watch them just go absolutely insane over candy that they think they like, but then
they don't eat it.
No, they don't. Well, because I probably do.
Same.
Before they even get to it. They wake up the next morning, there's less in my bag. Don't know what happened.
It's called the dad tax.
Dad tax, 100%. 100% dad tax, yep.
Oh, so let's say real quick. So obviously you've got me today. You've got my homie Jim Hill.
J to the I to the M.
And you've got Joel.
What is going on,
sitting
friend?
in with us today.
Those of you who can't see us right now, we did not plan this, but Tracy and I are best friends today.
We are best friends.
Yes,
That's
we are.
so good. We both have on I have on a black vest and he has on a gray vest. Yours is a lot nicer than mine, though.
Well, you know.
It is what it is.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
My mic's not close enough to my face.
There we go.
It's written all over your face. Baby, I can see your halo.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's a
Okay,
great
now
song.
I know.
You had no idea.
You know, you're my saving grace. Right?
Halo, halo.
Anyways, so Halloween.
Yes.
So you eat all your kids' candy.
Yes.
Oh, let's talk about what happened on Halloween.
Okay.
So
Let's do it.
I took my little one trick-or-treating, and, you know, she doesn't really go very long. By the time we got back, we were like, oh, it's still early. Let's help pass out candy. So we go in the backyard. We get our fire pit that is, you know, movable.
It's a nice fire pit.
Nice fire pit, yes. We put it in the driveway. We, you know, light a fire. We're passing out candy. And then it gets dark and pretty much no kids are coming. So we're like, we're going to go in, but it's still hot. So my husband is like, we'll just leave it here and we'll move it to the pool, back to the pool in the morning. And so in the morning, he leaves to take the kids to school, and he sends me, well, I wake up. We all know I don't wake up early. So whenever I wake up, I see it. And he's like, hey, where's the fire pit? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Where'd you do with it?
Not what did you do with it? Where did you do with it?
Where did you do it?
So we just got new security cameras installed from Vivint, like literally a week ago. And they've been there for 6 years, but they were like, you need to upgrade your equipment. So we had the equipment switched out, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to my camera, you know, my app, and look and see what happened to my fire pit that I've had for a week and a half and have used twice, by the way. Oddly enough, the camera decides not to pick up a single thing.
Oh, no.
After 6:30 p.m., there's nothing. So someone is, you know, nice and toasty with my brand new fire pit, and it's really heavy. So it's not one of those you could just like pick up and, you know, carry. Two people had to pick this thing up. So anyways, Halloween.
Bunch of jumps. Bunch of jumps.
Completely.
You know, I hope whoever got it actually needs it, because that. You know, while we're talking about this tragedy of you no longer having your fire pit, it's a great segue into the conversation we're having today on the podcast of killing people with kindness.
True.
You know, I think it's a great segue anyways, because, you know, hopefully whoever took said fire pit, they actually needed it for warmth. At least I'm going to try to think of the good of it in that. So you actually helped someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you're not happy about it.
We're gonna stick with that.
You are
Hopefully,
salty.
they are nice and toasty.
Let me ask this. So I'm assuming there's more than just the fire pit in your backyard. I'm wondering what went through their minds as they were thinking, look at all this other stuff. Let's steal this fire pit.
Well, remember that it was sitting in the driveway, so they can't even see the backyard. I mean, they can see that they can't really see through the fence. So it was, and we even moved it over, trying to put it like behind the bushes in front of the garage door, and it's freaking dark. Like there's no.
Imagine if they would have taken your pool when it was sitting in your front yard before it got installed in the backyard.
That's ha.
Sorry.
He's making fun of me because when I got my pool installed, it was a fiberglass pool, and they put this massive structure in my front yard, and then the crane was not available. So it had to sit there for like 4 days.
Did numbers on your grass.
It killed my grass, but it's okay. It grew back. So it was the day of our neighborhood yard sale. So there was like hundreds of people driving through the neighborhood, and I have this giant 14 by 30 fiberglass structure in my front yard.
You did get a few offers on it, though. People wanting to buy it.
Some great curb appeal.
Yeah.
I think that's a real estate term, right?
Pretty sure I got reported to the HOA for that.
Indeed. But anyways.
Yes. So
killing people with kindness.
So
obviously I say that in jest. I mean, obviously it's never good for somebody to come and thieve things away from people, but I hope they needed it. But so anyways, the point of what I'm trying to say, or what we're trying to get at today, I think is we never truly know what people are going through.
Right.
And I feel like this is applicable not only just in real life, but in real estate as well. Like here we are working with people who, for whatever reason, have chosen to work with us for the biggest purchase of their lives. And we really the process itself, I've met very few people who actually love it that aren't realtors, because there are parts of the process. And I mean, and anybody who's bought or sold a home before, they know the process is not, always what rainbows and buttercups or whatever unicorns.
It's grueling.
Yeah, it can be grueling.
Yeah.
So we never, that coupled on top of whatever else those folks may have going on in their lives at that point in time, they're looking to us to be their guide.
Right.
So I think it's really important that we truly focus on giving those folks everything we have, because, this could be their first experience. It could be their second that they're terrified because their previous experience with somebody else was horrible or something to that effect. So, killing them with kindness. I mean, I can think of a handful of scenarios where, I'm dealing with some folks who are just so musty and salty. Like they've just got this edge about them. I don't know if they're upset about just the process, if that's just how they are in everyday life. But it's like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, how do I turn this into a positive?
But what I really want to say is no.
Yes, exactly.
Well, yeah. I'm going to get straight to the point.
Go
because ahead. I've heard of this particular situation that happened with Jim. And I have much respect, because most people who have someone coming at them with jabs like this would not handle it near as well as he has. So, and that kind of brought up the idea of talking about this today, because we're going to call her Emma.
Yeah, Emma.
We're going to call her Emma.
Mm-hmm.
This particular client is just giving it to him left and right. I mean, so I'm just going to go ahead, Jim. Take it away.
Emma, full disclosure, we had Emma under contract for another house. There were some things that came up towards the end of we were close to the end on this house, and there were some things that came up that prevented the deal from going through. So we had to, we terminated that deal, unfortunately, and now we're moving forward. So Emma is sending me. Backtrack. So Emma has a pre-approval letter for X amount of dollars. Am I saying too much right now? I can say this stuff, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay. Emma has a pre-approval letter for X amount of dollars. And so now that we're out of the other contract, we're moving on, we're looking at others. Well, Emma starts sending me listings for $25,000, $35,000, $45,000, $50,000 more than what her pre-approval letter is for. So any good agent, I don't say good, most agents will not show a house. Well, they'll show a house, but they'll just make sure that the person understands, hey, look, if you really want to move forward on this, we need to make sure, unless you're a cash buyer, which Emma is not.
Right.
We got to make sure your financing's in place, because, don't want to waste Emma's time. And
the seller's time.
Or the seller's time. And then thirdly, and least important, my time. Sort of. but you know, you just want to make sure all the ducks are in a row. So, you know, I'm talking with Emma and Mr. Emma. Mr. Emma is Emma's husband. Talking with them, and
he sounds lovely.
He is. I mean, he's great personality. And you know, we're talking, and I'm saying, hey, do you have the pre-approval letter? He's like, yeah, we're working on that with the lender. And I'm like, okay, great. So let's just, you know, let's make sure we get that. And then, you know, so we don't go out, you know, showing you guys something that you fall absolutely in love with that we're not able to move forward on it because we don't, you know, we can't because the financing's not there. He's totally cool with that. Mr. Emma, like chill guy. Well, Miss Emma, she starts to text me and send me all these different links. Again, all these different links of houses of homes that are way above the one pre-approval letter that we have.
And we are told at this point, Jim is aware that they're not able to purchase that particular priced home.
Right.
So
really the pre-approval letter that we have and the amount that is there, that's pretty much the top. That's where they're at. But all of these homes that she's saying she wants to see are way above that. So I'm like, okay, well, this one home was not. It was in the price range. So I'm like, hey, do you want to go see this home at 123 Main Street, wherever it was? That's obviously not the address, but so she ignores the text. The next day, I call. I'm like, hey, do you want to go see this one? She changes the subject. The next day, I text again. She's asking me about moving forward. She says, time's of the essence. We need to move forward. And I said, well, what about this house? So she finally responds. Mind you, just reminder, she sent me this address. She says to me, quote, that house is ugly. Don't send me ugly listings. Why would you wouldn't live there, would you?
Ooh.
End quote. And I'm like, well, no, you're right. I probably wouldn't live there. No disrespect to 123 Main Street. I'm sure it's lovely for somebody.
On the inside. Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, you sent me this address. I didn't
Hold up.
I didn't send you this quote ugly listing, end quote. I'm trying to get you into a place that you shared with me. So I respond, I tried to be real nice. I was like, oh, my apologies. I thought this was an address that you shared with me that you had interest in. My fault. In my mind, I'm like, no, you sent this to me, Emma. Like, that's why
And then there was something along the lines of, basically, you need to get it together and take care of us. Like but it was so not nice. And I was like, man, she has it out for you.
So I'm trying to be nice because at the end of the day, I think I might have said this in a previous episode. And if my dad listens to this, he'll appreciate it. If I said this in a previous episode, I apologize for repeating myself, but my dad always said to me as a kid, son, be careful the toes you step on today because they may be connected to the rear end you have to kiss tomorrow.
You haven't said that yet. I would have remembered.
Said that?
No.
It's a great quote, though.
But
he
I like
always,
it.
and full disclosure, my dad, he doesn't cuss at all, and he really truly says rear end, but obviously it's ass. That's what he means.
Beep.
Yeah, sorry. Are we allowed to say that? Are we?
I'm the boss, and you can say it.
Kick us right off
Here's
Spotify.
Side note, funny story. It's like Dad would never cuss when we were kids, and I remember it like it was yesterday. We're in the McDonald's parking lot. We had just gone through the drive-thru. We stopped to get some what my parents call cold drinks, and all it is just it's just a fountain drink, right?
Fountain drink.
Yeah, and they call them cold drinks.
I'm gonna steal that.
So we're in our 1985 Plymouth Caravan. It's dark blue with the wood paneling down the side. I'm talking straight.
Is that a station wagon?
Oh no, it's a minivan, like straight up shag wagon. It's fantastic,
I love
right?
it.
So we're driving, and then we're sitting there and we're getting ready to pull out, and he puts the cup down in the cup holder, and then he has to slam on brakes for something, and the cup falls out. I mean, it's a big one, like a 32 ounce, and the cup spills all over the floor, and he goes, shh, he finishes it, and I'm sitting there in the front seat. I'm like, oh, you're grounded. You cussed. Because that was the thing. He's like, if you ever hear me cuss, well, you can ground me. So I got to ground him. I don't remember what it was, but he, as soon as he said it, you could tell he looked at me. He was like, oh crap.
Does your dad say dang gum?
Oh yeah. Dadgum. Like
I hear you say that.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
He says shoot. He just doesn't.
Does
cuss.
he say son of a biscuit?
No, he doesn't go
My
there.
mom says that.
He says Mel of a Hess. He says, he'll change things up to where
Is that hell of a mess?
Yes, it is.
Hell of a mess. I love it.
Mel of a Hess. So anyways, back on track. My apologies. So be careful the toes you step on today, because they may be connected to the rear end you have to kiss tomorrow. So I'm like, I'm starting to think to myself, what else has this lady got going on in her life? I understand she's salty. We lost the other deal, whatever. Well, it's not just whatever. It was a big deal. I know she really liked that house, but what else has she got going on? So I'm still trying to communicate and be nice. And then she says, our rent's up at the end of the month and we don't have anywhere to go. And I'm like, oh crap.
So that's where
she's
under pressure.
She's under pressure. And I'm going to do everything I can to help her out, and try to get her into a property as quickly as possible and something that she loves. But, in that moment, she's upset at the circumstances, but she's got a family of a couple kids. There's her, Emma, there's Mr. Emma, and then there's baby Emma number 1, baby Emma number 2, and then Paul is the other kid. But I just made that up. But but that's what it is. I mean, she's got the weight of her family, on her shoulder, and like she's in her mind, she's like, if we don't have a new house in a month, she actually said this. She's like, we're going to be homeless.
Right.
And so obviously talk about pressure on me. Like, well, I certainly don't want them to be homeless, but I didn't know all that until it became known. So, that's obviously just a scenario specific to real estate, but to her, it's real life. She's like, I got to have a roof over my head for me and my kids and my husband, Mr. Emma. But, it's just, it's tough. So, and that's the kind of thing you deal with on an everyday basis. I feel like that.
And I think it's important too. That's why it's so important to not, how many times I'm sure we've all done this, where you get a text message or an email and it's like, it burns you up. Like it's got you boiling but you don't reply right away. That's why you don't do that. I've been there. I've typed out a message 10, 15 times and then just backspaced all the way out of that sucker. Cause I'm like, nope, it's not the right thing to do. Be the bigger person and then respond tomorrow, or don't respond at all. We know that. Yeah.
I've done that numerous times. I'm like, does this sound bad? I screenshot and I'll send it to you. And you're like, yeah, probably don't send
just
that.
Don't.
I'm like, all right. So.
Just save it.
I have a really good friend, Andrew, that proofreads all my emails and even my strongly worded emails. So it's so good. I actually had a mentor that ran a pretty successful business at one point in his life, and he would always say that he would just write the letter, I think that might have been before email, but he would write the letter and then he would just put it on his desk and he wouldn't send it for about a week. And then he would look at the letter, make sure that it was still, what he wanted to say. And he said probably 80% of the time he would either completely revamp it or just completely throw it away.
Yeah. It obviously Emma is just under a lot of pressure, and Jim she's able to vent on him. And you know what, if that's what we got to do, if we got to take the heat in the process, I guarantee you when this is all over, she is going to praise you.
I sure hope so.
I guarantee it. She's just stressed out, I'm sure.
So if we can, let's talk a little bit about the conflict, I suppose, between kindness and I feel like maybe the way that people just normally do business. In your guys' industry, is it like the cool or the natural thing to just kind of like ram things down and be super type A and in people's faces? And do you see like maybe a little bit of a conflict between that just style, I would dare say, of American business and then kindness? Is there a difference there? Have you seen some success in just emphasizing kindness with people?
That's a good question. I think, gosh, that's really good. You're stumping me. Go ahead.
So I think when you can find a happy median or marriage between those two, and not to play, middle of the road, whatever, but I think there are times when, as real estate agents, we have to assert ourselves and we have to say, help people understand the process, because again, people, I've had clients that I'm working with who haven't bought a house in 20 years. Well, 20 years ago, the game was, granted, I wasn't in it 20 years ago, but 20 years ago, the game was, it's nothing like what it is today. Not even comparable. 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've helped some family here lately who, I can speak about my mother-in-law. She recently sold her house that she had for over 20 years and bought a new and
Jim sold it.
I sold the house. Yep. $42,000 over listing price. Thank you. And then got her into another one, her and my father-in-law. But, what's interesting about that is she had never been through the mortgage process, ironically, ever. Mm-hmm. Like every house that she ever owned was paid for in cash, which, we can skip over how that was a possibility. But the fact of the matter is we were going through this mortgage process, and I could tell there were times in the mortgage process she was very flustered and frustrated. And I think I'd like to think that because, I'm family and because now I understand that process a little bit better than most, not just from my lived experiences in life, having bought and sold 5 or 6 houses just in my short life that, I've lived thus far. I was able to help explain, certain things. Whereas I think if somebody else had been there, and she's a very reasonable woman, don't get me wrong, but if it wasn't for me being able to help explain things, having that, family relationship with her, I think things could have gotten real hairy for that scenario. So to your point, yes, we have to be assertive in certain scenarios, but then also compassionate to help people understand, like, hey, this is why this is happening. Mm-hmm. Everything that was happening in the mortgage process, albeit, annoying, it's like they had already gotten their blood sample, they had already done their physical, they had already taken ownership of the firstborn child, all the things that happen in the mortgage process, clearly kidding.
Every time.
But they had already done all these, seemingly intrusive things, which are normal. But, when you get into somebody's personal finances as deep as you have to with the mortgage process, it's, and you're not used to that and it's not normal, there is some compassion and some empathy that you have to have along the way to help explain, hey, this is normal. It's not personal. It's, the underwriter who is, I call the Wizard of Oz, that mythical person back behind the green curtain that you'll never see, but is making all the decisions for you, whether or not you can buy this house. It's not personal, but the bank is trying to make sure, hey, hey, Mom, you can actually buy this house. You can afford it. So.
Well, and since COVID, of course, it's gotten even worse. There's been so many layoffs and people, like, employment has just been unsteady that really tightened up the underwriting process even more. But I think to what you asked, Joel, I don't know if this directly answers what you were saying, but I think it's our job as professionals in this industry to be assertive and really take control of, because most of the time our clients don't know what's going on or what. So I think, obviously always be kind, but always set people up for success. You don't want to go in making them believe that things are going to be a certain way in their fairy tale when it's really not the case. The same when we represent clients to other agents. We always want to be respectful to the other side, but you still need to kill them with kindness, but also, again, be assertive. Let them know you've been in this rodeo before. You know what you're doing. I mean, this makes me think of sometimes when the team needs me to step in a situation. And the difference in how another agent on the other side speaks to one of my agents versus the way they speak to me sometimes is very different. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because of the way that I approach the situation, the confidence, I know what I'm saying is factual. We can go back and forth with this all day long. These are the facts. This is what's going to happen. And I think that, and I think I might be getting off track here, but for some reason, your long-winded question that confused me for a second. That's what it, I'm super, super kind, but I am also.
Except when you're not. I'm just kidding.
But I mean business too at the same time. So people, I got a big heart and all that stuff, but don't get it twisted. Like, what is it? Don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that applies like no other with me. I am very kind. I will do anything for you, but I'm also going to go to battle for you if I have to. Like, I'm going to, you know what I mean? Yeah. If I feel like someone's not being fair or someone is trying to take advantage of a situation, I am not afraid to be there and be like, hold up. You know what I mean?
It's a great song by Eminem. It's Not Afraid.
Go ahead, give us some.
I can't do it. He's much better at it than me.
I don't remember that song.
It's a great song.
You know that
I'm
one, but
not
you didn't
afraid.
know Outcast.
And that's all I know.
That's the way it goes. Yeah. No, I listened to a little M on the way in today. I get a little pumped up in the car sometimes.
This is when we should be able to cue Andrew and be like, Andrew, give it to us.
So here's one for you. We're all parents. You guys have leadership positions at work and in I'm sure your social circles, things like that. I do as well. How do you teach other people to be kind? Children, people that work under you, like is that in that it is a huge cornerstone of how you guys do business, how you parent, I'm sure. How do you teach other people to be kind?
You want to go?
Yeah, so it's funny. At how my kids are taught to be kind is I tell them to go talk to their mother. No, I'm just kidding. Because she's in charge at home. Let's not get that twisted either. No. So I think, for my kids in particular and how this relates back to, what we do every day. And again, not to harp on, the same thing I was saying, earlier about stepping on toes and whatnot. But I mean, it's so cliche, but the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. I mean, I know that's not exactly how it's. You get the gist.
Yeah.
But like, treat others how you want to be treated. And kids are impulsive. They're not fully developed yet. I mean, obviously, they're still learning every day. And I think for me in particular with my kids, like the way that they talk to each other and the way that I take that as a reflection of me, because I'm like, okay, well, they're learning this somewhere. They're with me most of the time, they live with me. So if they're being a little snot all the time, then, I try to reflect upon myself, okay, well, what am I doing? What kind of example am I setting, for these kids at home? And
oh man, my kids are snots. That means I'm a little snotty myself.
No,
it is.
We all have the ability to be.
I mean, but the older they get, the more influences they have on life. And, obviously my son's 8 years old and he's in second grade now, and there's certain things that he's seeing and learning at school that he has brought home here of late that I'm not real happy with. But at the same time, I know he's not learning said things from me at home, but at the same time, we have to have the discussions of, hey, that's not what we do. The Hill household doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. And but I think that teaching people to be kind, I mean, I think it's just a reminder every day, again, not to sound cliche, but it's just a reminder every day, like, would I want to be treated like that? I mean, there's certainly a line that, if somebody comes at you hard and fast and it's just aggressive and completely uncalled for, I mean, you got to stand up for yourself, of course. But, again, I think it just goes back to, asking yourself that quick question, taking that, that they say the 10-second rule, like to respond to anger or whatever, like
Yeah, I think that as far as the kids go, I really do think the best way to teach them is by being that yourself. Mm-hmm. Being my kids seeing me, they probably see me another
you were
song.
Going with it. I was just
another song was about to pop in my head. They probably witness me being even more kind to people outside of our house. But I think that they do pick up on that. And as far as people outside of the family, like, coworkers, just associates, anyone that you come into contact with, I think it's the same. Mm. If I'm interacting with you, and sometimes people have a wall up, like they don't know what it's like. Maybe they haven't been treated well in their own personal life, and they don't really know any better but to kind of be on the defense. Mm. I think when you kill them with kindness, but show that you care and that you're interested, and you will start to see people soften up and realize you're not out to get them. Like, I don't know, it all goes the way that you put yourself out there. I think if it's positive and nice, and I really do think that most people are going to give that right back to you.
Absolutely.
Has to be genuine too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think you can absolutely tell when somebody's being fake nice.
Oh yeah, I feel like all of us think that we're a lot more put together than we actually are. We're on Messy Success, but also that we can hide more so than we think we can. I mean, I know when somebody's pretending to be nice to me, mm-hmm. But man, it really does make the difference when you can when people can feel that you genuinely care about their best interest. I'm sure you can see that with people buying their, most expensive purchase of all time.
Right.
But also with just interactions daily, going and buying a burger or getting your car washed, all that fun stuff.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's funny. I went through the Taco Bell drive-through.
Oh, run for the border. I love that place.
It was for Riley. I was not eating it.
We wouldn't judge you if you did.
It was the one, I want to say, man, I really wish I knew like the manager here. The girl, immediately when I pulled up and heard her voice on the speaker, it was pleasant. Like immediately I was like, this girl is.
Are you sure you weren't at Chick-fil-A?
I was not. And,
my pleasure.
But that's a good point. When I go to Taco Bell, that's not what I typically get. It's usually like, welcome to Taco Bell, can I help you? You know what I mean? But the girl, she looked like a teenager, like a high school student. And she was so incredibly nice and welcoming. And it was a really good experience in the Taco Bell drive-thru.
So you'll go back?
I will absolutely go back.
See, but that Baja Blast is calling your name.
It was surprising. And like, no kidding, I thought to myself, her mom would be so proud of her. Like, I didn't say that. Maybe I should have. But it was like that one little experience. Like, because you go through and people are just like, I'm just here. I need my paycheck. But I don't know. She was super kind, and it made me feel better. It made me like, oh, she's a really nice girl.
Is this the one near our house?
No, it's the one in Hikes Point near Hunsinger Lane.
I was just going to call him out. I said our house because we do not live together. Our neighborhood is what I meant.
Right, we
to
live
say.
on the same street.
We do, ironically. That was not planned.
Our house.
Is a really house.
It's a musical episode. I love it.
Oh, that's funny. I'm glad that you picked up what I was putting down.
I got you.
All right,
I
cool.
got you.
What are some interesting situations you've got yourself into with unkind people?
Oh, Lord. One of my first clients when I came on board, I think I've referenced this client once before, but there were so many scenarios. I was a glutton for punishment. I kept going back and back and back because here I am starting off brand new, and I'm like, I got to make the sale. And, in hindsight, now, I'll still, help anybody buy a house of any price point. So, full disclosure, it's not all about the price point, but it sure helps when it's a lot higher. So this, I had so many conversations with this lady, and then also in turn, asking Tracy for advice because here I am brand new in the game. And I'm just thinking to myself, I came to the conclusion, and I don't mean to stereotype people, but I came to the conclusion that based on what little this lady was telling me about her life, and she didn't have a ton of family around. Her family, her words, not mine, so I'm not like putting this out there. But she said, her family thought she was crazy. I'll leave my opinion of whether or not that's true to myself, but nonetheless, she was really lonely.
Yeah.
I could tell she was just really, really lonely. And it got to a point, this is a lady that I helped get under contract, was it 5 times?
Yep.
And then she told me prior to that, she had been under contract with a different agent or agents 4 other times. So at one point, actually, I think it was after like deal number 2, or I think it was after deal number 1, but after deal number 2, Tracy's like, you need to move on. But I couldn't do it because I felt, I saw something in this woman that reminded me of, okay, if this was my mom or if this was my grandmother, I would want somebody to take care of them.
Let me just say, I didn't tell him to move on because they had 2 deals that didn't work out. There was so much more to it. I told him to move on because she was not respecting
She was worse than Emma.
Yes. She was just not
Yeah.
Appreciative of the work he was doing for her. Continue.
So we're in and out of deals, and then finally at the end, it was funny, between deals 4 and 5, she says to me, I think I'm going to go work with somebody else. And so like here I am in my
Bye, Felicia.
At first I was really upset. I was like, Dad, because at one point it became like
it was a challenge.
It was a challenge, and I'm sometimes that's one of my greatest strengths, but also one of my biggest flaws. Like I will keep trying for something until I get it to my detriment, and I was trying and trying and trying. So then about a month goes by after deal number 4 got terminated, And then she comes back. She's like, hey, I found this, my perspective has changed. I've got new understanding of the process. I'd really like it if you could help me again. So I did. And we go back into the process again. I get her under contract again. And lo and behold, nothing's changed. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God.
And he kept saying, I'm not even going to talk to you about this because I already know. I don't want to hear I told you so. I'm not even going to bother you with this.
So, I do feel like I did everything I could to be as nice as I possibly could. But it came to a point where I feel like for her, I think she was so lonely. It was her way of having somebody interact with her often because it was every single day.
And the amount of money that she wasted
thousands
on inspections and over and over. I mean, it was really kind of bizarre.
Yeah. So finally, after deal number 5 with me fell through, which if what she told me when we first met is accurate, it was 9 different contracts she got in and out of.
Whew. Yeah.
Yeah. So assuming that's all true, after that 5th deal, I said, hey, look, I just really think it's best if you continue, you find a different realtor to work with. So I finally did have to let it go. But at the same time, like it was so hard because I could see like certain things that I was like, if this was somebody of my family, I would want them to take care of, I would want somebody nice to take care of her because, she led on to a handful of things that according to her were happening in her personal life with her family and none of it sounded great. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if she was manipulating me to keep me around or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it's just, you never know what somebody's going through in life. And for whatever reason in the moment, with me in particular, 5 different times, she at least seemingly was committed to helping her, with the biggest purchase of her life. And granted, I was not able to succeed, which that still burns me up a little bit, but at the same time, I can wonder
now that we're talking about it again, I kind of wonder whatever happened. Did she ever finally get something? Idea.
But I mean, I hope she's well. Like, I mean, I truly do hope she's well. But at the same time, whoever, I would love to know too if somebody was able to get her to a closing table because I want to sit down for like dinner with that person and say, how did you do it? Yeah.
What are some instances where you actually have been able to kill someone with kindness, where somebody's been angry or frustrated or grumpy with the process, you were kind, and then you had an entirely different relationship with them as a result?
I don't remember. I feel like because my business is pretty much 100% referral. I don't deal with those struggles near as much as someone who is working cold leads or people that don't know of them, thankfully. And I think that, I paid my dues, but even in the beginning, I didn't work. A lot of my business was referral. But I would say my biggest, whenever you get a client and they bring their parents to a showing, the parents, rightfully so, automatically think, well, no, it's not rightfully so that they think this. They automatically have a guard up and think that we're out to just make a sale. And so immediately they are very like stone cold. So I have learned not really killing, like obviously be very kind, but also again, show them I'm not just here to make a sale. And I think the biggest tip that I can give anyone, this might go off the train a little bit, track, not train.
If you jump off the train, you're screwed. Especially if it's moving.
You always, like the best way to overcome that is to immediately point out things that are wrong with the house. Because if they see you go in there and you are not saying, oh, this is so great, you're pointing out all of the things. I'm going in there and I'm pointing out to you that there is a crack on the basement wall. I'm pointing out to you that the roof looks like it's got quite a bit of raised shingles. That's something we need to pay attention to. The peeling paint here and there, anything that I see, I'm pointing it out to make sure they know, look, I'm here for you. And you will not believe the difference in whether it's an uncle, a mom, a dad, whoever it is that comes along with them to kind of oversee what their child or family member is doing. it almost immediately changes the way their body language, the way they talk to me, and everything.
So I almost hear you saying that like kindness almost always involves honesty.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
That's good. Yeah.
It does, and I feel like, especially everything that's gone on in my life over the last 2 to 5 years, there are certain times in life things happen, and you don't want the fluffy, sugar-coated version of, what you want, the direct, black and white, give it to me hard, tell me the good, bad, you want it direct. You may not like what you're hearing, but at the same time, I can respect that so much more than I can somebody trying to, sugarcoat something and conflate the situation into really something it's not, just trying to make you feel better. And yeah, I mean, honesty, at the end of the day, honesty is the best policy, as they say.
Well, I even find myself, as long as I've been in this business, and I hear myself, I've said it before, you don't ever want to, and this is bad, I'm sorry for all the car salesmen out there, I'm so sorry. You don't ever want to come across, like, when you go to a car lot and you immediately get approached by a car salesman, you just, at least me, even to this day, I'm like, I'm good. I hold my hand up. No, I'm good. I'll come with you. Come if I have any questions. You don't want people to feel that way about you. And I'm surprised that me being in this business, I still do that myself. Like when I go to the car lot, I don't know if it's because over the years I've gotten a lot wiser. I kind of know a lot more. I don't really I know what I am looking for. I don't know, but I'm kind of embarrassed that I still hold up my hand to the car salesman. I'm like, I don't want people holding their hand up to me.
If I was that car salesman, I'd come give you a high five.
I really don't like those guys. The last one did me dirty though, so I got a reason, I guess.
It's interesting because, I had a scenario where I was, introduced to, it was a cold lead that came through one of the lead sources that we have. And, I started, not to get too much detail, but this young, soon to be single mom was going through a divorce, which seems to be one of the leading situations for people buying and sell, like death and divorce.
There's another D, but I can't ever remember what it is. It's death, divorce, and something else. I'll find out and talk about it next time.
All right. That's great. I want to know. Because I only know the two.
Delinquency.
It might be delinquency.
Oh, maybe it is.
That was a shot from the hip.
If it's not, it should be.
It should be, yeah.
Foreclosure.
So maybe there's 4 Ds. I don't know.
$4 word of the day.
So I'm helping this mom with her 2 young girls, find a house, and everything's going great. And she's, you can tell she is very reserved in what she wants to say. She knows what she wants to look for in a house. And I'm just trying to, I'm trying to be laid back, honest again about, what I'm seeing in the homes that we're looking at, only sending her listings, in specific areas that she, I'm trying to make sure I'm listening to everything that she's saying. So I don't, if she's asking me, for an all brick home, I'm not showing her, an all siding home. Yeah, that's the other thing too. You got to listen. Got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. So I'm going through this process, and you could tell I was trying to be kind. I was sympathetic to her situation, not asking her any questions, unless she opened the door for conversation and whatnot. So then what that turned into is I get her under contract for the house that she ended up buying, and then in the process, she begins to ask me about the current home that her and her now ex-husband have to get rid of. And I, of course, any good agent, do you have somebody that's going to sell that for you? But I waited. I didn't do that right away. Mm-hmm. I waited just because I didn't want it to seem like, like a used car salesman. I didn't want it to be like, oh, I can do that too. Well, eventually the conversation led to like, hey, if you ever need any help with that, I'd be happy to help.
Right.
I didn't push it. I didn't, just didn't push it. And so eventually she came to me and she said, hey, this is before we closed on the house that she bought. She's like, do you think you can help us with that? And I was like, sure, send me the address. And so, I got the address, and lo and behold, this house used to be owned by a family member of mine a long time ago.
Complete coincidence.
Yeah, complete coincidence. So wild. Ended up selling it. I did get the listing. Ended up selling it for, what did we go, $25,000 over?
A good amount.
It was a lot. And, everything came full circle. And I really feel like how that started was, again, the kindness, little by little, she let me on to know why she was in the situation she was in. She didn't give me all the details. She gave me enough to know that I was never going to bring it up unless she brought it up to me. But nonetheless, I think that kindness and then honesty too, like what Tracy was saying, not only did I get the sale of what she was buying for herself, but then I also got the sale of what needed to be gotten rid of to finalize the divorce between her and her now ex-husband. And it's just, what we sold, it basically was like, it was a lot.
So over time, basically without trying too hard, with just being him and doing the right thing, he built that trust with her, and he didn't even have to ask for the business. She offered it to him. And kudos to you.
Thanks. Well, you helped me a lot. But I killed her with kindness. And then eventually, and at the very end of the process, she did say to me, she said, and one day I'm going to try to sell this house. Can I call you when I do it? And I said, I hope you do. I expect you to. So,
exactly.
Anyways.
So one thing, before we forget, question of the day.
Question of the day. Who gave it to you?
So I went back in our list, and it looks like, what's funny? I put on a little forum, leading ladies in real estate. No. And I asked for people to ask, questions or things that you think we should talk about. And they all say basically the same thing. Everyone wants to know, words the question a little bit differently, but wants to know, how do you do it? And so this one is so last week the question was, how do you stay so chill when you have a million things going on? This one is, how do you take care of yourself while hustling like crazy and running the girls around to all of their sports, managing meals that aren't fast food, or are they, fitting in exercise, etc.?
Well, we already know the one thing. It is Taco Bell.
I did not eat the Taco Bell. It was for Riley. It was 2 beef burritos with red sauce and a cinnamon twist for her.
Oh, my gosh.
For her.
Man, chicken chalupa for me. But anyways, go ahead.
So, and that question is from Jen Pitts, who is our
6 foot Jen.
6 foot Jen. She is the wife of Jay Pitts, but also owner of Remax Premier Properties, and basically keeps that whole facility running daily.
The queen.
She is
the queen. Yes.
Bee.
It's kind of I don't have it together. I show up and I get them there, but I put my mascara and my eyeliner on in the car 5 seconds before I walked up these steps today to do this. I have gray hair like an inch long at the top, and that's why my hat is still on. I have on leggings from the gym this morning. I wear clothes that can somehow get me through the day no matter where I'm going. Just switch the shoes, put some boots on with it, and put on your vest with your friend over here.
Vest friend.
Yeah, I really wish I had a better. I wish I had a better answer.
So here's my answer for that question for you. I think I don't even think it's necessary. Of course, you're making conscious decisions in the daily walk. Mm-hmm. You obviously have a calendar that keeps things organized for you and things. These are all obvious things. But here's the thing that I've noticed about you in the year that we've known each other. There are a few people that I've met that are more driven, and whether it's and it's not over the top aggressive driven. It's just, you can just tell, you hate losing more than you love winning.
True. And
that drive to continue to win and not have to taste defeat, whether it be, all the things that you get to do on a daily basis, or that you do, I think in a way you're subconsciously, you kind of wrapping it back into how do we teach our, children, and how do we, you're showing them, I think you've got it down so to a science to yourself in an unconscious way, that to show them every day how life, if you want to be successful in life, this is how you have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that. One thing, and I was thinking about this on the way here in the car, is that I think that you're right. I hope that they see that, you know what? That's funny that you say that. I also had a note. Remember the story I gave a couple weeks back about Riley woke up and thought that it was the day.
Yes, that was
the
hysterical.
Day morning of school, and it was really not, and that whole fiasco. Well, my other daughter saw that video on my story, and she commented and she said, "Oh my gosh, I just realized how crazy our life is by watching your video, and I never really stopped to think about it before." And it's so funny because I feel like when you're doing a good job with clients in real estate, they don't see how stormy it can get because you shield them from that. And I think my kids are the same way. They don't realize how freaking hectic it is and how much I'm like putting all the puzzle pieces together on a daily basis to make sure that everyone is where they need to go and everyone is fed and all of that. It just happens. And so the fact that she said that, I was like, that one little comment, I was like, huh. Like, so I make it seem smooth to them when really I'm like, ah. Yeah. But I feel like it's truly the same with my clients. And I hope that my team handle things the same way. You basically take on, that's why this job is so hard. You take on all of the stress and you only let it through you if you have to. Like, I do not take things back to my clients, whether it be a buyer or a seller, unless I've done every single thing that I can to fix the problem before it gets to them. And if they hear about it, then I have no other choice but to tell them. Ethical. I'm not saying, I don't keep things from them that they need to be told.
I was about to say, don't make me call the commission. I'm just kidding.
No, but I think that is what it's giving them. Sounds like I'm without really realizing it, giving my kids a good experience of not realizing the hecticness. Is
hecticness. I'll go with it. It sounds right.
It sounds
like
good
a great
to me.
word.
And that's, so it kind of goes both ways.
You do well.
So, well, thanks.
And I'll throw some out there as well. I think what I appreciate about you and admire about you, and something that I have as a personal goal as well, is it just seems that the focus is other people. It's not necessarily looking perfect all the time, and then sometimes dropping the ball with clients or with family. You seem to be the kind of person that just prioritizes other people, and in kindness, in being firm in that kindness and being honest. That seems to be where a lot of that success comes from.
Thank you. I get it from my mama.
I absolutely think it's such common sense how to be successful, in my opinion. Like, yes, there's going to be things that happen in life that are just completely out of our control, obstacles that are not going to be able to be overcome. There's just no way about it. Things are going to happen, acts of God, earthquakes happen, tornadoes happen. There's no controlling that stuff. But at the end of the day, the people who are genuinely kind and the people who truly want to help people are the ones that are going to have the most success, in my opinion. I mean, if your goal is all about you, and don't get me wrong, like, I like to win as much as anybody, but I have 2 kids and a wife that I want to make sure are taken care of. So everything I do is to make sure that they don't have to want for anything, that they don't have, that. And I do that I try to do that through consistent kindness with the people I get to work with, because at the end of the day, you truly don't know what else somebody is going through. And if you can be that shining light example for them in the moment of the biggest purchase of their life, then it can turn into nothing but success, albeit messy, but success.
Boom. #boom.
Ta-da! That was real good, man. You should go on that conference circuit or something like that.
I'm waiting on Ted to call me for one of his talks, but he hadn't done it yet.
Yeah,
so.
He's kind of a reclusive fellow, that guy.
Yeah.
Well, that is going to be a closing for episode number 5. 5? We're going to say 5. I think it's 5.
Yeah, this is 5.
So I hope that you guys enjoyed listening today. I'm really, really, really excited about potentially who we have coming on next time. It's not for certain yet, but we are both very driven people, so I think that we'll make it happen. But stay tuned for episode number 6. It will be a good one, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes episode number 5 of Messy Success with Tracy French and Friends. I'm Jim Hill, one of the friends.